So, back at CES in January, I got the chance to check out a bunch of new laptops for 2024, and, you know, I travel a fair bit, I like a nice powerful laptop, and one in particular caught my eye, the MSI Titan 18HX. This is what happens when you say, screw it, let's build the most ridiculous, OP, overkill, Gigachad monster of a laptop in existence, and thanks to MSI for sending it over. I hope you've all got your wallets ready. Let's check it out. First off, I mean, it looks straight up like an MSI laptop. It has that true gamer aesthetic, aggressive angles, RGB everywhere, even on the touchpad. You'll love it or hate it. I kinda love it. Then there is the size. It's an 18-inch laptop, so it's sizable, although, to my surprise, it still fits in my average size backpack. Now, me personally, I've tried smaller, say 14-inch notebooks, but I've come to the conclusion that they're just not for me. I often edit in hotel rooms when we go to events, so I much prefer having the bigger screen, not to mention all the extra power and headroom that you have in a laptop of this size. In fact, I'm going to be taking this with me to Computex this weekend, so that'll be nice. It does weigh almost 8 pounds, so it's not exactly lightweight, and then there's this insane 400-watt power brick, which is a feat of engineering. But I mean, even altogether, it is still significantly lighter than my gaming PC with the same specs. Speaking of specs, we should talk about them. So it's got the latest Intel Core i9-14900HX in it, 14 cores, 24 threads, which by the way can hit up to 5.8 GHz. I'm telling you, it's the Gigachad of laptops. And then we have an NVIDIA RTX 4090 Mobile, 4TB of NVMe storage occupying slots 1 and 2 with a third in reserve for expansion, along with, wait for it, 128GB of DDR5 RAM. It's literally got twice the memory of my desktop. Premiere Pro is going to be very happy. Now, this is the 4K variant of the 18HX, so beautiful 18-inch 120Hz 4K mini LED screen, 16:10 aspect ratio, so technically 4K plus. But it looks fantastic. It's also extremely bright. I had to turn it down for quite a few of these shots. And then it's also got HDR 1000, so 1000 nits of peak brightness. Now, if you've never used a mini LED display before, they've gotten pretty good. It's not quite OLED levels of black, but I mean, I use an OLED daily, and I'd say this is like 90% of the way there. The contrast and colors do look very nice. It's also really color accurate as well, so you can use this for color grading and editing photos, which is great for people like me that do a lot of that kind of stuff. Plus, with mini LED, there's no worries of burn-in, which I know can be of concern to some people. Now, you might be wondering how on earth you cool something like this, because most laptops don't come with a 400-watt power brick. If we take a look under the hood, we can get a closer look. Now, the cooling solution for this is several heat pipes and a massive vapor chamber to dissipate all the heat from the i9 and RTX 4090. There's also these cool 3D feet. I remember seeing these at CES and thought they were interesting. It lets the intake fans breathe a little more. Speaking of fans, there's two big intakes, and they can get quite loud when you're really going at it in heavy games like Cyberpunk. Yeah, basically bring headphones if you plan on heavy gaming. Lighter stuff, on the other hand, you can get away with running a much quieter fan profile, and it's fine. Whichever way you look at it, if you want access to this much power in a device of this size, it's not going to be silent. Having said that, it does manage to stay plenty cool enough for sustained gaming sessions. We've literally hooked this up to our 4K TV in the living room, played Horizon Forbidden West for 8 hours straight, and it ran like an absolute champ the whole time. In terms of connectivity, it's got two Thunderbolt 4s, very nice for big file transfers up to 40 gigabits per second. One of these has power delivery 3.1 as well for fast charging stuff. There's also USB 3.2 Gen 2, HDMI 2.1, an Ethernet port, audio mic combo jack, as well as an SD card reader. That's a big plus for me when I'm on the go. And then as far as other features go, we have a full HD webcam with a built-in privacy filter. One thing that MSI's been doing on their laptops for a while now is Cherry MX keyboards, which sound and feel very nice. And of course, in true gamer fashion, you get fully customizable per key backlighting, and I really like that the F keys change color when you press the function key. Now, surprisingly, the lighting is actually controlled by SteelSeries engine, not Mystic Light. But anyway, it's got some cool effects and presets built in, and by the way, the flickering you're seeing on the touchpad throughout the video is not how it looks in person. It's just some unfortunate shutter speed interaction on camera, although I did find out that my phone magically AIs the flickering out of existence if you give it a moment, so here's what the trackpad actually looks like in person. Speaking of the trackpad, it's just one seamless surface. There are no physical buttons. Instead, there's haptic motors underneath to simulate button presses, and it's actually very convincing, although if you come in from a traditional trackpad, it takes a bit of getting used to. The plus side is it doesn't get dust and dirt trapped in it, and just a PSA, do the firmware update if you haven't already. It fixes an early issue where the trackpad would unclick on its own. Okay, what about audio? It's decent. It gets quite loud actually. It does sound a little bit thin in the bass and mids. It's certainly not the best sounding laptop I've heard, but it's fine for casually watching videos. I normally use headphones if I'm gaming or doing any editing, so it's not a deal breaker for me. I have to talk about battery life, although I'll preface this by saying, if you're buying this to primarily use it unplugged, just don't even bother. It's literally a portable desktop. Now, it has a massive 99.9 watt-hour battery, which is actually the legal limit for airplanes, so you couldn't go bigger even if you wanted to. Does it last long enough?
That's what she said.
Depends what you're doing. If you're just browsing the web, checking emails, or watching videos, you're looking at 3.5 hours. Gaming, on the other hand, is not worth it. You lose out on a ton of performance, get terrible battery life, like an hour tops. These desktop replacement laptops are just not designed for this, so do yourself a favor and plug it into a wall. Performance, though, is where this laptop really shines. Here's Cyberpunk running at 4K, ray tracing overdrive, of course with DLSS enabled, as well as frame generation to get it somewhat playable. The result is just under 60 FPS, which to be honest is pretty amazing for a laptop. I mean, this game can bring 2-year-old desktops to a crawl. Now, I'm going to generalize a bit here, but basically any game other than Cyberpunk that's been released in recent years and is reasonably well optimized, you can run it on higher ultra settings and you're looking at around 100 FPS. I tried Red Dead Redemption 2, that was around 100 maxed out. Forza Horizon 5, again similar FPS on the benchmarks. Yeah, I mean, to run these kind of games at 4K and achieve close to, if not triple digit FPS, for something that fits in a backpack is just insane. It's a similar story for productivity-related workloads. I can edit 4K footage, render videos, all with similar performance to my home desktop. Now, obviously, it's using much more power-limited versions of these components, but nevertheless, performance is second to none. It's really impressive. Right, so there is the small matter of price. It's $5,500, which admittedly is very expensive for basically anyone other than Bill Gates, Elon Musk, although he's too busy building spaceships to play games. Anyway, it may seem like there's a lot of compromises for a laptop of this price. The size, the weight, the battery life. However, you just can't have everything at this point in time. I'm sure in the next 50 years we'll have some new battery technology and an impossible cooling solution, but until then, there's a tool for every job. This thing absolutely excels as a desktop replacement. I can take this with me in a backpack to the other side of the world and have access to similar performance to my PC at home with the same specs. That part is pretty incredible. I also love being able to hook it up to the TV in the living room and play games at 4K. We previously discussed building a dedicated PC for the living room, but with something like this, you don't even have to. Obviously, for a lot of people, something like this is a massive investment, but if you are the kind of person that needs a laptop like this and the ability to bring all that power with you wherever you go, it's perfect for that. And you could genuinely use this as a full desktop replacement docked in a home environment, although if you only plan on doing that, it's way cheaper to just build a desktop. Anyway, if you want to check out this beast of a machine, links will be in the description. Drop any questions down below. Thanks again to MSI for sending it over. Hit that subscribe button for more, and I'll see you guys very soon at Computex.